Today, we are talking about one of the craziest stories in gaming, Dantes Inferno, a 2010 action-adventure game developed by Visceral Games and published by EA. But we're not going to be focusing on the game itself, which is just a reskin of the old God of War games, but instead we'll be focusing on the absolutely unhinged marketing campaign used by EA to promote Dantes Inferno. It was surprisingly hard to research this mental story because all of it happened 15 years ago, so most of the information has just been buried. And I'm guessing since half of the story is borderline illegal or unethical as hell, no pun intended, EA would probably like to keep it buried. But one weird thing that I found during my research was this weird subscribe button that's below this video, so make sure you press it and help me get 1,000 subscribers. For some context, Dantes Inferno is a game about going through the 9 circles of hell. Each circle is related to a sin like lust, greed, gluttony, and so on. And the whole marketing campaign for Dantes Inferno was based around these different sins. In order to help us navigate this chaotic story, I made a little iceberg. We will start at the top of the iceberg with the more innocent, harmless sins like wrath and greed, and we will work our way down to the more unethical and totally insane sins like lust and blasphemy. Right now, all of this might sound a little confusing, but just watch till the end, because trust me, it gets mental. When EA first announced Dantes Inferno, they wanted to generate some hype for the game, but instead of doing just generic marketing, they tried to get a bit more creative. So they sent journalists these packages, and inside these packages was a branded Dantes Inferno wooden box, which by EA standards actually looks like it was well put together and high quality. But when you open the box, you get rickrolled. Early 2000s, when getting rickrolled was like the best prank ever. Unlike the other marketing stunts for Dantes Inferno, this one is by far the least harmful and most innocent. Also, you'd think. Because once you opened the box and the rickroll started going, there was no way of turning it off. The only way of making it stop was by smashing the box into pieces. And just to make matters worse, the wooden box had multiple layers of wood that you had to smash through. So this marketing stunt was supposed to relate to wrath because, you know, you're smashing the box up, right? You're supposed to be angry. Like I said, this is still really innocent and I like it a lot. It's quite creative. Instead of sending journalists your standard PR packages that include items like socks or water bottles, EA wanted to get a bit more creative, which I respect a lot. They sent you a wooden box with a sole purpose of you smashing it. I really wish the rest of this marketing campaign stayed this innocent. On a separate occasion, EA sent journalists $200 checks in return for some articles written about the game. All the checks were real and the journalists could cash them in, but with the checks there was also a note attached that read, "In Dantes Inferno, greed is a two-headed beast. Hoarding wealth feeds on one beast and squandering it satiates the other. By cashing this check, you succumb to avarice by hoarding filthy lucre, but by not cashing it, you waste it, and thereby surrender to prodigality. Make your choice and suffer the consequences of your sin." That literally took me like 20 attempts to read it. Journalists were not impressed. Technically, it's quite clever and it relates to the sin of greed, but on the other hand, it's a little bit sketchy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't this count as bribery? Most journalists that I saw covering the stunt decided to cash in the checks and donate money to charities, but more specifically, women's charities. That's because shortly before the greed incident, EA decided to go ahead with the marketing stunt for the sin of lust. God damn, that transition was good. During the 2009 Comic-Con, EA held a booth for Dantes Inferno, and at the booth they showed the teaser trailer for the game. Nothing crazy there, just your standard marketing, right? Well, EA wanted to spice things up a little, so they decided to launch a contest. And the contest was based on the second circle of hell, lust. Nothing could go wrong with that, right? Basically, everyone who partook in the contest was told to commit acts of lust with the I don't even want to say it. With the booth babes. Oh, it's such a gross term. I hate it so much. But let me repeat that. Commit acts of lust with the women working at the booth. Yikes. Basically, the participants had to take pictures of them committing the acts of lust and post it on Twitter or Facebook. And the worst part is, the winner would receive, oh god, I just need to read it word for word. Dinner and a sinful night with 2 hot girls.
Why are we still here?
A limo service, paparazzi, and a chest full of booty. Not only is this contest basically to see who can get the best picture of them harassing the woman working at the booth, but also, can you just imagine how awkward it would be if you won? A sinful night with 2 girls? You mean dinner with 2 actresses who are paid to be there and are awkwardly making conversation with you? Because let's be honest, if you attend Comic-Con and partake in these kind of contests, you probably look like this. And let's be honest, you're probably not the Wizard of Oz, are you? God, this whole concept is just making me physically cringe so much. Like, who approved this? Luckily, it looks like I'm not the only one who wasn't that keen on this idea, because EA received a lot of backlash for this stunt, which just shows you how bad this really was when back in 2009, people thought this was too much. Strangely, it seemed like this is exactly what EA wanted. They just wanted publicity. Doesn't matter whether it was good or bad, they just wanted to get their names in the headlines. And I mean, getting negative press for a game based on hell and the different circles of hell and sins seems kind of fitting, but I just don't really understand how it's getting anyone excited for the game. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. If you thought that the Comic-Con stunt was crazy, my lord, no pun intended, this video is about to get a whole lot more wild. Have you ever heard about a game called Mass, We Pray? A game where you can attend Mass and pray to sweet baby Jesus? Pat, why are you asking me about this game? How is this relevant? Well, Mass, We Pray was actually another marketing stunt for Dantes Inferno. The game is fake. The website is fake. The development studio behind the game is also fake. EA made all of this up. But that doesn't change the fact that there's some actual comedy gold on this website that I have to show you. So let's start with the About section. A family shouldn't have to wait until Sunday to worship the Lord. Now you can go to church every day without leaving your home.
Just to suffer.
Wait, there's more. There's a trailer for this game. And I don't think I can say anything that will be remotely as funny as me just showing you the trailer, so here it is.
A family shouldn't have to wait until Sunday to worship the Lord.
Amen.
Now you can go to church every day without leaving your home. Introducing Mass, We Pray. The wireless cross controller detects movement in 3 dimensions. Every twist of the hand and nuance of a blessing is recreated on screen. Use it to participate in more than 24 unique and exhilarating ceremonies.
Bro, the DLC for this game is just amazing. This game was listed for something ridiculous like $20,000, and the best part of all of this was that EA did not tell anyone that this was fake. They released this trailer alongside the website without ever disclosing that this is all fake or it's a marketing stunt for Dantes Inferno. So people saw this and thought that this was actually a legitimate game that's coming out soon. And I can just imagine that one super religious family that saw a trailer for this game and they got super hyped, only to get their dreams crushed when they realized it's all fake and it promotes a game about hell. Can we also appreciate the accessories for Mass We Pray? Just look at this controller, or look at this thing, like whatever this is. What does it even do? I swear to God, no pun intended, I would actually pay real money to play this game. Probably not 20 grand, but maybe like 30 quid seems reasonable. All of this was done purely for this little gag right here. If you press the buy now button, this message would pop up. It just talks about the 6th circle of hell, heresy. Because if you hold Mass in your house and you do it using a video game, that technically counts as blasphemy. Oh, and the pop-up actually redirects you to the Dantes Inferno website, but the link doesn't work anymore since, you know, the game is 15 years old. Okay, this next section is going to be a little bit different because I don't actually understand which sin this relates to, so I'll just call this next section Fake Religion. During a 2009 E3 conference, attendees noticed that there was a lot of protesters outside, which is kind of weird because E3 tends to be received very well, and there's never really any controversy regarding the event. Apparently, the protesters came from a nearby church and they were specifically focusing Dantes Inferno. I'm guessing because they were quite pissed off with a video game about but let me tell you, some of the signs were just chef's kiss. EA equals electronic antichrist, or trade in your PlayStation for a Prey station. As a pun and dad joke connoisseur, these are unironically like actually really good. But anyway, big surprise, all of this was set up by EA. The protesters were actually paid actors and the church where they came from was also made up. So let's just take a step back and look at this situation as a whole. EA was at E3 promoting Dantes Inferno, where they hired a bunch of paid actors to pretend to be fake protesters and made up a fake church where they came from to protest their video game. What? I don't understand. Like, what is the point? Like, was it to make Dantes Inferno look like a really controversial and extreme game? Like, I just don't know. So these religious protests and Mass We Pray combined pissed off quite a lot of actual religious people, because according to them, EA was mocking their religion just to promote their video game, which I can kind of see. But imagine this happened today. Imagine EA done all of these stunts today, like the lust competition and the whole fake religion thing. EA would be cancelled. This whole story is absolutely wild, but we can all agree that EA put in some crazy effort and work into promoting this game that's actually surprisingly average. They wanted publicity, and publicity they got. Although hardly any of the articles talk about the game itself, but rather how wild the marketing campaign was, which is kind of why we don't see many marketing campaigns like this. Although creative, it distracts the consumers from what the product actually is, and instead makes everyone focus on the campaign itself. Which is why if nowadays you ask anyone about Dante's Inferno, they won't talk about the game, but they sure as hell, no pun intended, will remember the marketing campaign for this game, because it was just absolute chaos. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any more wild or crazy gaming stories you'd like me to cover, and make sure to subscribe, because if you don't, you'll go to hell. Bye.